Welcome back with Niaga AWANI. The latest economic data have indicated that the United States is moving quickly towards recession, said US economists on Monday. Jack Rasmus, a professor in economics at the St. Mary's College of California, warned that as a whole series of indicators reported last week have shown, investment is slowing dramatically. And although consumption is rising, the increase is only equal to the inflation, so it's not real consumption growth. Arguing against some other economists' opinion that the US is not in recession as there has not been significant layoffs in the country, Rasmus pointed out that employment is always a lagging indicator. It will be very clear that in September, the US economy will be already in recession, he said. The US is set to release a GDP report for the second quarter this week. Following the first quarter contraction at annual rate of 1.6%, the latest data may confirm that the US economy is shrinking if the report is negative. The latest estimate of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta for real GDP growth in the second quarter of 2022 was adjusted to minus 1.6% on July 19th. Data from Institute for Supply Management showed that the Purchasing Managers Index PMI for the manufacturing sector is 52.3 in July, lower than 52.7 in June. And the Service PMI dropped from 52.7 in June to 47 this month, the lowest since May 2020. The Flash Composite PMI was confirmed at 47.5, hitting a new lower for the past 26 months.
The International Monetary Fund cut global growth forecast again on Tuesday, warning that downside risk from high inflation and the Ukraine war were materializing and could push the world economy to the brink of recession if left unchecked. Global real GDP growth will slow to 3.2% this year from a forecast of 3.6% issued in April, said the IMF in an update of its World Economic Outlook. It added that world GDP actually contracted in the second quarter due to downturns in China and Russia. The fund cut its 2023 growth forecast to 2.9% from the April estimate of 3.6%, citing the impact of tighter monetary policy. World growth had rebounded in 2021 to 6.1% after the COVID-19 pandemic crushed global output in 2020 with a 3.1% contraction.
Wall Street equities fell and US Treasuries rallied on Tuesday as before a likely Federal Reserve rate hike as investors grapple with growing economic concerns after retail giant Walmart's Incorporated profit warning and signs of a looming gas supply crisis in Europe. The bid for safety also boosted the US dollar, which snapped a three-session losing streak, while the energy supply concerns weighed on the euro. European Union leaders agreed to rotation gas usage after Russia's Gazprom said gas flow to Germany would fall from Wednesday to half of the current amount, already at just 40% of normal capacity. US equities fell with retail stocks after Walmart slashed its profit forecast late on Monday as surging prices for food and fuel spurred consumer to cut back on discretionary purchases. Since Walmart is seen as a litmus test for the health of the consumer, Carol Schliff, Deputy Chief Investment Officer at BMO Family Office, said investors are concerned about growth and feeling uncertain ahead of key economic data due out this week and the Fed's interest rate decision expected today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 228.5 points or 0.71%. The S&P 500 lost 45.79 points or 1.15%, and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 220.09 points or 1.87%.
Next, we have a clip on Biztech Asian Midday Market Watch, a discussion between host Brian Fernandez with guest Jeffrey Hawley, Senior Market Analyst Asia Pacific OENDA. A conversation of insight on regional markets performance. Let's take a look.
In your commentary today, what are some key takeaways from today's commentary that you've got up?
Well, the two asset classes that are moving are Bitcoin, which fell around 6% overnight and is down another 0.8%, I think, in Asia today. Now, there's a story out published by Bloomberg that says that Coinbase is being investigated by the US SEC over some of the products that they launched in the crypto space, which they're interpreting as being securities, in which case you need to be a licensed security provider, which brings you into a regulatory nightmare and a threat of obviously legal action in the state. So I believe that is what is weighing on the crypto space at the moment. Second one is oil. Now, last night, Gazprom dropped those flows on Nord Stream 1 from 40% down to 20% of normal flows. And at that rate, Europe will not be ready for winter this year. Russia's actions, and as usual, they're blaming it on a technical problem or something to do with paperwork or some such thing, that has forced oil prices higher overnight. And in fact, I think a move with Brent crude through 108.50 at the moment could see that spike back to 115. But we've seen in Asia today, energy prices, oil prices are 2% higher as well.
Now, South Korea just came out with their GDP numbers, and the numbers were economy grew 0.7% in the second quarter compared to the first quarter. What's your take on that, and is that going to have a material impact on regional markets as positive news comes out of South Korea?
Well, it was great news actually, but most of it was driven by domestic consumption as the COVID-19 restrictions were eased. Now it's backwards looking. We're talking about the April to June quarter, and as you know, in 2022, 2 months is a lifetime. So although I believe it's helped lift the cost be slightly higher today because it suggests that South Korea is still doing pretty well in the world, the fact that it's 2 months backward looking, I think, is going to limit its impact on the markets longer term.
Now, Jeff, you mentioned it's earnings season right now. Amazon came in. Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple are due to announce results this week. But interestingly enough, Walmart has just given a guidance for investors to expect lower earnings. What's your overall take in terms of the earnings season coming up?
Well, their stock was punished, and they are a core big box type retailer. So if Walmart's catching a cold, you can assume that the rest of the economy is on the verge of catching the flu. So we saw Amazon and Target also sold heavily last night. Walmart was down. Look, we've got Microsoft and we've got Alphabet announcing this afternoon. And what we can tell already this year is that when the fairy tale story of forever growth isn't met, stocks have been punished aggressively and we saw that to a certain extent with Twitter and Snap last week. So a lot of nerves around the online ads market. So I think Alphabet particularly will be important. And we've also got Meta tomorrow, then Apple on Thursday. So huge week for the big tech earnings. And I think that is going to go a long way towards determining how the stock markets emerge at the end of what is already a very busy week.
Chinese President Xi Jinping on Tuesday held talks with visiting Indonesian President Joko Widodo in Beijing on bilateral relations and on international and regional issues of mutual interest. Xi noted that Jokowi is the first head of state China hosts after the Beijing Olympic Winter Games. This speaks volume about the strong commitment of the two sides to growing their bilateral ties. Indonesia and China are comprehensive strategic partners with an important goal of jointly building a community with a shared future. Their cooperation is mutually beneficial, not only serving the two peoples well, but also contributing significantly to peace and development in the region and beyond. through the four-pillar cooperation, namely political, economic, people-to-people and maritime cooperation. Xi said, facts have proven that a sound China-Indonesia relationship not only serves the shared long-term interests of the two countries, but also has positive, far-reaching impacts regionally and globally. They also signed an MOU on jointly promoting cooperation between the Silk Road Economic Belt and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road Initiative and the Global Maritime Fulcrum, and other cooperation documents covering such as areas as vaccine, green development, cybersecurity and ocean.
The White House remains optimistic about the US economy as they announce multi-billion-dollar investment from Korean firm. South Korea's SK Group on Tuesday announced plans to invest $20 billion in the United States on industry including semiconductors, green energy and bioscience, which the White House said will create tens of thousands of domestic jobs while helping ease global supply chain snarls that have persisted during the coronavirus pandemic. SK Group's investment will include $15 billion in the semiconductor industry through research and development programs as well as materials and a testing and packaging facility which will help address supply chain problems. Another $5 billion will go to green energy businesses, including electric vehicle charging stations, green hydrogen production and battery materials and recycling. The final batch, which the company described as worth several billions of dollars, would go towards biotechnologies developing new drugs designed to bolster competitiveness in the US pharmaceutical industry. The investment is part of the Biden administration's efforts to reduce the impact of supply chain bottlenecks around the globe, which the administration says are helping fuel record high inflation.
SK's confidence and commitment in making this kind of long-term and very significant investment in the United States is a clear signal that the United States, along with its allies, is winning the technology competition for the 21st century. And of course, this comes in the context of a significant vote that the Senate took just earlier today in bipartisan fashion to move forward the Historic Chips for America Act. It's our view that inflation is the top economic priority that we need to be focused on as a country. And it is our view that if we move out more quickly and more aggressively on the types of steps that the President has outlined, then we are going to move more quickly to helping to bring prices down.
Baik, sekian saja Niaga AWANI untuk hari ini. Bersama saya Nabilah Khaleeda dan rakan penyampai.
Dan saya Harits Asyraf Hasnan. Salam hormat.